Okay, today on World Tour Workouts, we're going to talk about a big endurance week. So in base training, I was sort of talk about the biggest week you'd build up to. You would start with 14 hours, 17, 20, take a rest week, 21, 24, 27, something like that. And then you'd get to 30. And once you could sort of do a strong 30-hour week, that was kind of the signal like, okay, I'm ready to add intensity. I don't really need more endurance than this. Generally, you don't need your biggest endurance week should kind of match your longest race week. So if you're doing a 6-day stage race of 5 hours each, then it's important to do at least one 30-hour week to prepare your body for it. But so most of you don't need to do that, which is a good news because you don't have time anyway. But the other time to do a 30-hour week is kind of towards the end of the season. So during the season, you finish your base, you get some intensity in, you have some racing, you have some rest. By the end of the year, for the most part, the hay's in the barn. You don't need to do intervals anymore. You've got enough speed work done. But if you have a big late season target, a good way to kind of make up for that, if you're sick of the intervals, you're sick of the workouts, you just get back into base and endurance again. So I would like to kind of crank out another 30-hour week or two kind of in August most years when it's super hot and uncomfortable to do that. But that was always a good move for me, and that would set me for the last few races of the year going into the fall. This year it's a whole different. I don't know what those guys have been up to in the spring, and good luck having enough endurance to get through 90 race days over 4 months. It's going to be interesting watching the rest of the season with those folks. But so for me, so I just did a 30-hour week myself. I'm training for the Everesting thing. I did some intervals. I didn't have any KOMs to go for. My training partner was out of town, so I was like, all right, I'm just going to go out there and bring some audiobooks and some podcasts and just get some good miles in. So I'll walk you through kind of how I structured that. The first 3 days, I wasn't sure yet how my body was going to respond to it. So the first day, I just stuck to 5 hours a day was my idea, and I would take one rest day. So I did 5 hours. I think the first day was like 8,000 feet, and I just went into Malibu and did kind of as many hills as I could. And same Tuesday, I think I did Latigo Canyon, and then Wednesday I did another loop. I did Corral Canyon that time. So you cruise through, and I did. So the first 3 days I just knocked out 15 hours. And then I was like, okay, now I'm a little bit tired. My whoop was mostly green the whole week. That was a goal too. Part of when you're doing the low intensity, the good news is at least my body responds really well to it. And I was able to stay kind of in the green, recovered, which means you're good to sort of repeat that kind of workout the next day. So it was a big load, but lowering the intensity and not ever, going for KOMs and governing my pace did pay off in repeatability. So Thursday I went into Hollywood, and Thursday I decided to do a little kind of a rest, except not really a rest day. But I wanted a shorter and kind of an easier ride. So I went into Hollywood, and I was exploring the steep hills. There's some neighborhoods in Hollywood where it's called the Bird Streets, where there's some really steep hills, and I thought maybe there's a chance that there's something I can do for Everesting in there. Not likely, but I know there's a lot of like 15 to 20% climbs in there. They were all too short, super busy, way too many driveways, as I expected, but it's in my backyard, so it was worth having a look, and it's a fun ride, just grinding up steep things for a day, if you're me. So we checked that out. That day I ended up with 10,000 feet of climbing total, but only 60-something miles, because that's what happens when you ride steep stuff. And then, but I felt pretty rested for Friday. So Friday I decided to go a little bigger with the thought of a rest day on Saturday. So Friday I went for a couple KOMs. I rode into Griffith Park. I made some videos in there, so those are coming soon. But I did a couple hills in there, and it was one almost 20-minute full-on effort. So generally, the way you want to structure any big week is you sort of front load it with the intensity. As you get more fatigued, intensity is harder to do. So this one having kind of a mini easier day, a shorter day. It was still 5 hours, but it was just the shorter hills and more rest in between. That enabled me to I felt pretty sharp for the Friday effort. By the way, I had really good power for that one. This is an aside, but there were a couple KOMs in Griffith Park that I'd gone for in 2017 when I just retired. I still kind of had my World Tour fitness. I didn't have to try yet. I could just go bust out whatever power I wanted. And so one of them was Mount Hollywood, and then there was Mount Hollywood, sort of, which goes to the next gate. So sort of a few different segments on the same hill, and you just go past it. But those, I got those that year and I would have thought that I lost fitness since then. But on Friday I went out there and I did I did a KOM that went up Mount Hollywood and then kind of down and then back up one more summit to Griffith Observatory. And just on the Mount Hollywood part, I was 1 second shy of my previous time that I just finished from the bottom to the top of Mount Hollywood. And then I beat my time on a separate KOM attempt that was to the next segment, to the end of this gate. Basically, on the way to a longer KOM, I almost tied and then took different KOMs from myself in times when, basically my point is when I quit racing, what normally people do is they get fat and they get slower. I chose to fight that, and and it wasn't like I had great conditions. There was actually a headwind that day that did not suit me. But but in my retirement, I put on I put on some power, basically, at least for the efforts that I've been training on. I got a little bit faster, and I was surprisingly happy to see. I took the KOM from the guy I was looking for, but I was more happy about the ones I took for myself, where it's like, wow, I'm improving still, at least at this. I guess I have a faster bike now, but still, I was stoked about that. And my main point there is, don't let anyone tell you when to stop being your best. You can figure it out yourself. So that's back to this. So that was Friday. I went for the KOM. That ended up being another almost 5 hours, a little bit shy. So between Monday and Friday, I was at a total of 20 hours. No, that's 25 hours. Math. 5 times 5 is 25. So for the weekend, I only had to do 5 more. Saturday I took a rest day. I like doing Saturdays especially after the KOM. I figured I needed it. Saturdays I like to do kind of either a rest day or an easy ride with my girlfriend, with Emily. We rode for coffee. I'm not counting the coffee ride. I didn't even put that on Strava, so it never took place. But I'm not counting that hour towards my weekly goals because we're just kind of noodling around having fun. And then Sunday I went out to do one more long endurance ride. That day I made a video from Mulholland, and that'll come up soon. And then I came back and added a couple more hills. So I got to a total of just over 50,000 feet of climbing, 31 hours and change for the week, and that's a really nice week. So now I'm gonna take a little bit of a rest, but that's the mythical week. So if I was racing right now, the 30-hour week would boost me. I'd take a little rest, and I'd be ready to go through whatever the end of season, usually around now, would be the Tour of Colorado and Utah and Alberta, kind of that block, without sort of smashing it with more of the 2x20s and the stuff that by this time of year I'd always be really tired of. So there's a 30-hour week. If you have time, I highly recommend it. I had at least 25 picky bars in that time. I had a lot of sleep. When you're doing volume like that, you really can't do much else. So this week is my rest week. I'll be catching up on emails. And so sorry to anybody that I didn't get back to. But that's it. 30-hour week. Hope you enjoy yours. Peace.